Hi everyone and welcome to module number 4. In this module, we'll focus on the public and private dichotomy that prevails in Western thinking. And to do that, we'll use a PowerPoint presentation as usual. So let's start and I hope that you will enjoy it. The public versus private dichotomy. Overcoming this dichotomy has been the focus of feminist writing and political and economic struggle for almost 2 centuries. We will explore how works of art produce, maintain, and normalize potentially harmful ideas about gender and the relationship between public-private dichotomy, gender inequality, and gender-based violence. However, works of art also have a unique ability to rethink and reimagine the gender approach to the public-private dichotomy. The module will therefore conclude with a selection of works that open up and make us think about the public-private dichotomy in ways that challenge the gender roles and stereotypes associated with this dichotomy. That means that at the end of this module, you will be able to answer the following questions. What is the public-private dichotomy? How is the public-private dichotomy gendered and how is it used to organize gender roles and stereotypes? How is the public-private dichotomy maintained, reproduced, and reimagined in art? How do gender stereotypes that relate to the public-private dichotomy contribute to gender discrimination and inequality? How does the public-private dichotomy contribute to the maintenance of gender-based violence and violence against women? And at the end of the module, you will be able to analyze the public-private dichotomy with a reading of artworks from a gender perspective. The distinction between the public and private spheres in one of the most innate dichotomies in Western thought. Here a distinction is made between the public world associated among others with economics, paid works, politics, government, power, civil society, participation in decision-making, and the private sphere associated with domestic work, to the home, to the care of children, and to the family. While the former is often associated with men, the latter is intended for women. The public-private dichotomy has a patriarchal character with implications for both men and women. The distinction is therefore gender-specific in that the public and private spheres are each associated with a specific gender. Women, since the beginning of written human history, have been pushed into the private sphere of the home and have been simultaneously excluded from the public sphere. They are considered housewives. Similarly, men have historically been required to care financially for their families and engage in politics. Their activities therefore took place in what is considered to be the public space. They are considered the householders. In the 21st century, this division of work of labor is still often the case. The domestic sphere is seen as the natural place of women, and the domination of men in the public sphere is also seen as a natural order of things. For centuries, the public-private dichotomy has produced and still produces a gender imbalance of power. The public-private dichotomy can help us understand why and how the gender stereotypes take place women in the home linger today. We can have a look at this link on Regenerate platform to do some exercises. Summing up then, the public-private dichotomy produces gender roles and stereotypes that generally place men in the public sphere and women in the private sphere. And the public-private dichotomy does not only operate on the axis of gender, but for example also, but not limited to, on the lines of race and class. The relationship between the public-private dichotomy, gender inequality, and gender-based violence against women. So let's see this, that's really important. As this module and the artworks thus far have shown, the distinction between the public sphere and the private sphere have resulted in different roles for women and men. In this section, we will delve into how and why this potentially leads to gender inequality and gender-based violence against women. In Module 3, we already showed how power relations and hierarchy are inherent to dichotomous thinking. The public-private dichotomy produces differences across the gender divide in relation to access and control in many settings of society, disciplining people because of their assigned gender at birth. Because generally only men were allowed access to the public domain, the dichotomy has contributed to more men working in public roles and well-paid positions, more women ending working in low-paid or indeed unpaid positions of care labor. This has helped to differentiate access to decision-making, participation in public life, and the way in which women have been and still are deprived of access to democratic participation. The clear gender distinction between the public and private spheres has also contributed to laws that historically have considered women as objects to be owned and as property of men. For example, until 1956 in the Netherlands, women who worked for government institutions were often dismissed from their jobs as soon as they married. Nor were they allowed to open bank accounts, get their own insurance or a job without the formal permission of their husbands, therefore putting them in a position of dependence on their husbands. Summing up then, the public-private dichotomy contributes to the normalization of certain gender inequalities and acts of gender-based violence and violence against women. Let's think about economic violence, for example. Many feminist activists, artists, and scholars have challenged the seemingly mutual exclusivity of the public-private dichotomy. Second wave feminists have claimed that the personal is political, referring to a reclaiming of the private sphere and at the same time blurring the division between the public and the private realms. Look at this link on Regenerate platform. This was the module number 4. In the next one, in the module number 5, we will focus on the mind-body dichotomy, prevalent in Western dualist thinking. So I hope you enjoyed it and that you will find and that you found some answers to your questions in this module, and we will see soon for module number 5. Thank you. Bye.